Hey guys, Richie at Ryden's room here. I just said Richie, that's the name I've been using at work, but I'm not on a work telephone call right now. But yeah, I'm not in Ryden's room, I'm outside it because, well, that's my bedroom. Ryden's room's on the other side of the house, but I'm just out in the garden because lovely spring/summer weather in April. Nice garden. You know, it's all clean now because our son is roaming around all he wants. I'm looking over towards my thing right now. Yeah, actually in shot. Little playpen with slide, so garden's got to be nice. And I always say to do late night reading when my ferret's roaming in the garden, but right now I'm actually sitting facing his hutch because it's a perfect stand for where my phone is stood up. So let's get to it. So I've done reviews today on the Han Solo Adventures, and I mentioned the other Han Solo trilogy, and there's my dog who wants to go inside. Excuse-moi. I'm back. Okay. Yeah. The dog, if I let him in, he'll just start scratching at the door. So yeah, I did the Han Solo Adventures, mention in the Scoundrels review, and I mentioned the Han Solo other trilogy, the extremely popular one, which people say is by far the best one. I figured I'd save that for last, save the best for last, and I'm glad I did. So yeah, this is it. The Han and Lando books are like 3 in 1 by the time my Warhammer collections, e.g. this one, which is full of stories and a 750-page book. But yeah, it probably is an actual all-in-one set, but when I found them it was like this, and so yes, I was keen to do this again. I've recently sold my copy of Lord of the Rings just to buy them in the 3 different volumes, and I'm glad I did, because you realise how huge these books are when you're carrying them around a lot, so it's nicer to have them on their own. So yeah, this is book 1, The Paradise Snare, and absolutely love this book, cannot recommend it enough. So much like Scoundrels and the Han and Lando Adventures, I just save them for last. I just reading all the other ones. Yeah, I was reading everything like up key New Jedi Order books, then that era, then Legacy of the Force, then Fate of the Jedi, the Bantam era, the Clone Wars era, the whole prequel era books, and this was kind of just towards the end. In fact, I'm actually very near the end of my EU journey. There's still a few I've not read, like Cross Current and Riptide, but I just don't care all that much about them. Maybe in a couple of years or so. Same with a lot of Disney canon books I'm going to pick up. But yeah, nearing the end, and this is a seriously good beginning at the end. So this is just book 1. I have no idea what goes in book 2 and 3, other than that Han will, again, spoilers up to this point. Timeline wise, this is about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, 10 years before A New Hope. So Han, in the bulk of story, is about 20, because I've always figured Han would be about 30. I mean, if Luke and Leia were 19, let's say 20, I figured Han was about 10 years older, and I'm pretty sure it's confirmed somewhere he is about 30 in A New Hope, so he'd be about 20 here, which makes sense. So it starts him as a child, because where's his, where's Han Solo come from? Just some poor kid abandoned on the streets by his parents in Corellia, gets picked up by a pretty unpleasant pirate gang, think Yondu's gang of Ravagers from Guardians of the Galaxy, except Yondu actually cared about Peter Quill, whereas Han's boss/owner of the ship doesn't, and my god, it's not a nice childhood. In fact, the only person that cares about him is a female Wookiee. Sadly, she dies, but she does tell Han to go live the best life you can, and she also believes in a type of energy that connects everybody, the energy field Obi-Wan would say. I can't remember the name, but he thinks it's some sort of force, and of course Han doesn't believe in any of that by the point of A New Hope, but of course Luke makes him see it does exist. Plus Darth Vader uses Force to yank his gun out of his hand. You gotta believe the Force exists when that happens to you. But yeah, Han obviously seems more believing of all that stuff when he's younger, but then let's just say the events of this book change him into a pretty uncaring guy by the end. It's pretty tragic, and there's some seriously heavy stuff in this book. There's a bit of sexual stuff. I mean, nothing, you don't see Han sleeping with women or anything like that, but there's clear references to human urges and stuff, but it's just like how miserable Han's life really is. So it's plenty of flashbacks to his childhood. You get that complete bastard frackin' Sal Solo from the Corellia trilogy, and again, I don't know why in the Disney film Solo Solo's just named the Empire given because Han, like a Game of Thrones character, has no surname, he only has his first name. Made no sense, even with the existence of frackin' Sal Solo's family. Of course his name was Han Solo. Like, this is Star Wars. If Solo seems like a weird surname for us, is it any more weirder than Kenobi or Skywalker or Star Killer, as his name, or even Vader, because let's not forget, in A New Hope, originally Darth Vader was a fallen Jedi called Darth Vader. That wasn't his title. So yeah, how is Solo suddenly a weird name that the Empire just give it to Han in the Solo film? But yeah, I'm not here to rag on the Solo film. I've seen it once. I never thought it was that bad. It just wasn't that great. But I mean, having read this, I think, thinking back to the one time I watched Solo, there's a lot of stuff that, like, they could have done just adapting this, and they didn't. Like the love interest Emilia Clarke played, Kira, no idea how to pronounce, Qira or something like that. Like, okay, she's the woman in this, right? No, she's not. Nothing like her at all. But yeah, anyway, that Solo film was its own thing. I don't know if whoever made it read this trilogy or not. It's a shame because, well, let's be honest, like all Disney films, they claim there was no source material to adapt, even though there was. And if they were going to adapt the Solo books, yeah, do this. Make a Solo film, even if it's just one film rather than three, based on this. But anyway, let's get back to this. I had enough thoughts of my videos about my thoughts on Disney Star Wars. But yeah, obviously. So here we go, right on the back, the guy who Han works for, who's basically a slave to, Gareth Shrike. He's like think of Fagin and Bill Sykes and Oliver running a gang who do things like cons and pickpocket you and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, Gareth Shrike is absolutely the monstrous Bill Sykes of the Oliver story. There's no real Fagin in there. It's just one guy in charge of the whole operation, and yeah, he's the worst sort of person ever. Like, Han reminisces about the beatings he was given by him, all sorts of terrible things that happened. But yeah, the Wookiee is the only one who actually cared for him when she dies. Han, vows to honour her, go live the best life he can, and it's obvious why he's going to form a connection when he meets Chewbacca, which is not in this book, but there's way too much going on in this book. He only gets into the Empire right at the end, so that was never going to happen. But I can imagine in book 2, he's going to meet Chewbacca, because obviously the Empire's enslaved the Wookiees. I think this is wrong, even without his friendship with the Wookiee from the beginning of this book. I forget her name. He read this like a few days ago. Julana, there it is. Yeah, he doesn't need a friendship with a Wookiee, like an actual genuine friend / mother figure, to know what the Empire do to Chewbacca and the Wookiees is wrong. But it's nice to get that, like, Han knew a Wookiee before Chewbacca. And also, this book ultimately shows how clever Han is. When he wants to be a pilot for the Empire, that takes a hell of a lot of skill to do, so he starts learning how to fly at the best chance he gets. He's learning other languages so he can understand people. He works out what Julana is saying to him, because he can't talk Wookiee. I think this book mentions him trying it, but he can understand what Wookiees say. There's other species as well. Let's not forget, in A New Hope, he could speak in basic, but he still understood what Greedo, a Rodian, and Jabba, a Hutt. I don't think that's weird, Jabba the Hutt. Like, Han doesn't call himself Han the human. But yeah, not just Jabba Hutt, just Jabba the Hutt. But yeah, all Hutts are Hutts, right? But anyway, yeah, you get Han, he learns multiple languages. Even if he doesn't speak them, he understands them. Because obviously in this world everyone has no basic, but he has to learn other languages. So yeah, the plot is he lands on this planet, and this is why they call it the Paradise Snare, a place called Yselia, which I've seen that name pop up in other EU books. I think it was a short story in one of the Legacy of Force or NGO books. I have to check it out, but it seems like the perfect place. Everyone's like getting this massive euphoric buzz from this drug they're all being given, but it's just slavery, a way of keeping the slaves in line without them realising they're slaves. As that Doctor episode goes, is a slave if he doesn't know he's been enslaved? Yes. That's just it. The Doctor's response for that blunt yes, and that's it. They basically giving people this drug, letting them think it's some sort of higher power, so they'll want to stay there, but it's really just a way of forcing slaves to never want to leave. Han obviously has a better life because he's a pilot. He's not a slave like the others, but it's not easy for him to escape, which he does eventually. Meet this woman, brings her along. She's a victim of the druggings, and she just can't really be happy with him. It's quite sad. And yeah, she ends up leaving, but kind of fixes Han's problems. He usually has ways to deal with his debts, but problems kick in and he's unable to pay them. She's rich. She leaves him, leaves him a note explaining why, but leaves him the money so he can get his ID, get fake ID documents, change his identity via a bit of laser eye surgery. But of course, by the end, Gareth Shrike catches him. Han has never just cold-blooded killed someone before, but that's coming up. He ends up surviving. Another bounty hunter just kills Gareth Shrike, and then Han, in self-defense, kills him, but it's more or less just getting out of the way and bang his head into a wall. It's not like cold-blooded premeditated murder or anything like that. But yeah, after Han loses the woman he loves, he just vows never to let him be hurt the same way again. So obviously by the point he meets Leia, he's just a very different guy. But Leia kind of brings that side of him back quite clearly. Yeah, it basically ends with him getting onto Coruscant, taking the exams and passing to become an Empire pilot, because that's his dream. But of course we all know at some point he's going to walk out on the Empire and then end up working for Jabba the Hutt. So I imagine he's probably going to, if this book ended with him joining the Empire, passing the exams and everything, I imagine book 2 will be a similar thing with Tatooine, him meeting Jabba perhaps. So that's about it. There's a lot of stuff I haven't said, but overall really, really recommended. Yep, this isn't the Wookiee with a weird design or anything. No, it's not. This is a friend he makes along the way, a cat-like species who becomes kind of his best friend / protector, and turns out he's also been lied to on that planet. There's one of his species, where there aren't actually that many of them, who's been told is not there, which is, and they all help each other escape. And it's just a really good story. Han's, gets this uncaring edge about him, but it's only really by the end. For the first one, he's got more of a Luke personality, but he's not going to be Luke Skywalker in book 2, but Chewie will bring that out of him, but only to an extent. And from what I also hear, actually, reading some, I think it was no, it wasn't a Reddit post, it was the Force.net Jedi Council forums, apparently in book 2 and 3, A.C. Crispin effectively leaves the gaps for his adventures in the Adventures of Han Solo. Sorry, Han Solo Adventures. Don't know why that and the Lando one's the other way round. But yeah, that's extremely impressive. Really good of the authors, who's obviously read or just aware of the other Han Solo trilogy and said, yeah, it still happens, and Han had these adventures, so having read them, I'm looking forward to that bit. So yeah, that's about it. It's my longest of all my videos I've made today, but it's absolutely worth the longer review, I think. So highly recommended. That's the girl. That's Joe. Weird enough, there's a bit of a resemblance to Emilia Clarke on there, but this is still the original cover from '97, so obviously Emilia Clarke didn't look like she did in Game of Thrones and Solo in 1997, but weird coincidence. And then yeah, that's the cat creature Murloc. I keep thinking Merlot from the Down Chamber, so yeah, Mur, M-U-R-G-H, that's it. And then of course Han in the middle with, even though this is about Han meant to be about 20, basically looks the same as he does in the film, I think. So yeah, that is it. So yeah, I've kept it in perfect condition, no bend to the spine, which I've been more careful about lately. And I'm looking forward to reading book 2. I'm basically the Han and Lando adventures, and then this I've basically been reading alongside gigantic Warhammer books, ones with 3 stories, or 2 stories, a bunch of short ones. I've kind of just split them all together. So it's a good way to get through the Warhammer collections and these at the same time. So yeah, once my Warhammer book Grey Knights 1 is done, I'll be on book 2 of this. And unlike the adventures of Han Solo and Lando Calrissian, I'm just pulling off the shelf, the container rather, this is not being sold, not unless book 2 and 3 turn to be a total disaster and not worth reading again. But even if that happened, I'd be in book 1 no matter what. But I don't think that's not gonna happen. I just wish A.C. Crispin had done a lot more Star Wars, because he nails the writing. But yeah, bring on the others, because Han also has to get them in Falcon, so he's got to meet Chewie. Meet Chewie, or save Chewie, and then meet Lando, whether they're old friends or not. But he's got to get the Falcon off of him. He's got to do other things like make the Kessel Run. When they go buy the Solo film, he's got to get the pink dice in there. Oh god. Yeah, there's somebody here. The Solo film was set out to try and give origins to everything. Let's hope this doesn't quite take it that far. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm actually fully up to date on my Star Wars book reviews now. But much like in a previous one I did for this Batman one, I feel like even if I've not read them recently, I should do more. Like I did that Enormous Crocodile minutes after rereading it. I could do one on the Twits right now because I can remember so perfectly what happened. Same with the Farthing Wood books I've got. But yeah, that's it. So I've got another video on the way, which is kind of like my plan for some future vids. But hope you enjoyed this one, and hopefully it won't be too long. I'd like to review my Warhammer books, but I feel like they're very hard to review because so many characters, so much going on. It's quite difficult to really. I mean, I'm not like a pro reviewer or anything. I'm breaking down scene by scene, character motive, etc. No, none of that. It's more just a summary and my general thoughts. So it should translate fairly well to doing Warhammer reviews in that way, but I don't know, it's something about Warhammer books, I feel very hard to review them other than something I've got planned. But yeah, I'm sure I'll do something eventually, because I'm reading a lot of Warhammer at the moment. In fact, once these Star Wars books are done, it basically goes, it's Star Wars, Warhammer, something else, e.g. the Wild Robot, which I just got from the library. Soon it's just going to be Warhammer, something else, Yeah, here's one, for example, Let the Galaxy Burn, which I'm reading now because it's just a bunch of short stories. The full novels I read at work or at home and work. But yeah, I feel like I've got to do something at some point. I'm so into Warhammer now, and there's a huge demand for it. The Warhammer show's on the way, and it's going to become very, very popular when that comes out. On top of it's already ballooned popularity in the last few years. So yeah, that's it, and I'll see you for the next one.